add on what he can add better. A person like George Musini, by the way, yes, I like giving people a chance. I don't like writing off people. I'm sure he is going to be if it was like that, I wouldn't be in my position. Because I came, I had no political godfather. Someone gave me a chance. I like giving people a chance. I don't like writing off people to others. Because if it was like true, that, I wouldn't be in my position. Seniors, I came, I had no political godfather, someone especially for mentorship. It would be bad and also even me as a deputy speaker, I can tell you, it is true. There are seniors an encyclopedia running the procedure. Okay, so especially for mentorship, I would, and also even me as a deputy speaker, I can tell you, I'm on the like say, what do you say about this? It's an encyclopedia of rules of procedure. I remember when I'm stuck, a honorable lady quickly signaled got a hard time on the floor. Sometimes I'm on the floor and she struggled and she had lost all hope. Because what did I do? I got the honorable I remember there is a honorable lady this new legislator got a hard time on the floor. I hand over this young legislator and she had lost all hope and guidance. What did I do? And she did a fantastic job. Within 2 weeks, the same MP came on the legislator and was I said I hand over this. So seniority is very mentorship and I think and she did a fantastic job. Within 2 weeks, the same MP came on the floor. I'm a candidate for the position of deputy speaker. So seniority is very, very important. But I still wait for colleagues to confirm. Leadership of parliament we need to look at how we can next into the experience of for the position of deputy speaker. I'll go for myself. But how they wait for colleagues to utilize them to mentor. I think we need to look at how we can, on top of the senior colleagues, the experience of this. We still have many seniors. We have the jack of both. How we can now nobody utilize them to mentor. Senior, he has come. The new colleagues. On top of the senior colleagues who are still in. We still have many seniors. We don't have a shortage. We have the jack of both about this.
Honorable, I shouldn't forget this. You are among the unopposed MPs. Personally, how did you manage to score this? Some people
we don't have a shortage.
Insinuating, I shouldn't forget this. You have an opportunity to talk to one of these. How did you manage to manage to score this? Some people,
number one, 2016, I was unopposed.
Insinuating, malpractice, fraud. I have an opportunity to talk to one of you. How did you manage to pull it off as unopposed?
2021, I was almost unopposed. Number one, 2016, I was unopposed. Okay? I don't know why it surprises 26, I'm unopposed. 2016, I was unopposed. I always have 2021, I was almost unopposed. And then after the NRM primaries, we always see 2026, I'm unopposed. And how do I do it? Each other. I always have competition in the NRM adopt the programs of my colleagues. And then after the NRM I usually tell people, we always sit as colleagues. Like one philosopher said, that you judge the contents of the promise by how the programs of my colleagues. Doesn't agree. And I usually people I don't agree with that within the one philosopher said, when we finish the primaries, you judge the contents. I can't just go and celebrate. I've never had celebrations after primaries because yes, how do I celebrate? Don't agree within the winning over when we finish the primaries. I reach out to them. Sometimes the celebrations we make, I've never had celebrations after primaries. They create a lot of enmity, but also during campaigns, winning over a member of the same family. That after campaigns, I will need sometimes the celebrations we make, I'm always very, very civil. Words we use, they create a lot of enmity, but also during campaigns. I don't have more.
I don't know things people insinuate.
After campaigns, I can win by abusing someone. So I'm always very, very civil. I cannot win by abusing someone.
People insinuate a lot of things. People insinuate.
I can win by abusing someone. I think we need to go back and reflect on this as politicians. I cannot win by abusing the trust we've
people
had.
People insinuate a lot of things.
People don't think you can genuinely have a friend or you can genuinely talk to people. They think it is Kit Kidogo or is underground. People think everything. I think that's what we have to work on. People don't think you can genuinely have a friend or you can genuinely talk to people. They think
the right honorable speaker is telling me to tell you that it's time for lunch.
I think that's what we have to work on. And I don't know why she said lunch. She should have said hurry for a meeting and promote more.
All of the best. Right honorable speaker is telling me to tell you that it's time for lunch. Deputy Speaker of Parliament, and
I don't know why she said lunch. She should have said hurry for a meeting.
All of the best. Right honorable. That's the right honorable Thomas Tayebwa. Chief Mobilizer of the National Resistance Movement, my brother Timothy Nyangweso here, is going to talk to her. To you,
thank you very much. And we are really grateful
with
the
Chief Mobilizer of the National Resistance Movement, my brother Timothy Nyangweso here, is going to talk to her. To you,
thank you very much. And we are really grateful that we'll have this mobilization at the NRM Secretariat. Happy New Year. The Honorable Rosemary Seninde, who has been behind the engine.
I congratulate Uganda. I congratulate His Excellency the President and Mama Janet Kataha upon this wonderful and great success. And the NRM family, congratulations. I congratulate
Is this the fruit you expected after all the hard work you have put in for almost 3 months?
First and foremost, wonderful, and I want to thank His Almighty and the NRM family, because to be honest,
is this the fruit you expected after all the hard work you have put in for almost 3 months?
So God has given us the grace. I want to thank His Almighty God. He has given us the because wisdom, to be honest, given us the energy. Much as we have given our candidates, we cannot claim it without God is now. Grace. I want to thank. So God has given us the grace to win this election. He has given us the wisdom. He has given us the energy. I want to say He has given our candidates the energy to traverse the whole country. Or for us as a party to win an election, the people of Uganda. We had to look at 4 major things. Accepting our message. One of them is the issue of the candidates. I want to say, ladies and gentlemen, we are lucky that we had a celebrity. For us as a party to win an election, was a we had to look at 4 major things, if I can say. One of them is the issue of the candidate. He had ladies and gentlemen, it takes. We were lucky that we had a accepted by the people of Uganda. Our candidate was a quality candidate. We had the best message. Our message of protecting the game, he had the image, he had everything it takes for him to be accepted by the people of Uganda. When we talk about protecting the games. Number 2, we are looking at the best message, the security and stability. Our message of protecting the games, looking at is a very crucial message. The security of the people of Uganda. It encompassed a lot of things. And their properties. When we talk about protecting the games, at the we are looking and and the. And and the wealth creation. Because let me tell you, there is nothing you can do. You cannot develop. You cannot even talk about socio-economic empowerment when you don't have peace. We are looking at the peace, the security and stability of this country. So the issue of the message was very crucial. The security of the people of the Uganda, the method, and their properties. The methods we are looking to deliver that message and to reach out to the people. And the so for us we had the structures, because let me tell you, we want to nothing you can do. You cannot the leaders. You cannot even talk about socio-economic empowerment when you don't have of our campaign. We have worked well with them. They have been delivering the message is very important. Our chairman gave us the issue of the message that we designed. Summarized the manifesto, and we gave them those messages, and they delivered the messages. The method. So everywhere the president hadn't gone yet, you use. The messages were being delivered. To deliver that by the time the president would come for his rallies, so for us only had the structures, and even where the president had left, we were always there to ensure that our messages are really concretized, of our structures, and the people get to appreciate and understand. At the grassroots that have been many the other strategies we put in place, but that was the major strategy of ensuring that we use the village mobilization with them. They have been delivering the message. So that one alone, that our chairman gave us and helped us that we designed. I want to say, summarized in the last elections, and we gave them those messages, and they delivered the messages. And so everywhere the president hadn't gone yet, the messages were the president got about. By the time the president would come for his rallies, he was only emphasizing this time around was even when 8 to the president had left. We were always if the turn-up was high, that we are going to score more than that. Really concretized. Yes, the turn-up was get to appreciate and lower than we anticipated. Many other strategies we put in place, but that was the major strategy of ensuring that we in the last elections. We use the village mobilization and I'm sure best strategy. So that one alone has really helped us. I'm sure we shall have reached around there. We shall be nearing 8 million. In the last elections in 2021, we have made NRM didn't perform well for us. And look at Uganda, look at Kampala, look at Central. In the last election, we almost totally lost the Central region. Actually, the entire Central was colored red. I'm sure if the turn-up was high, the people were convinced by what our counterparts had convinced them, lower than but I'm very glad that the people of Uganda have been able to appreciate that the heaven people promised the 5 million we got in the last election did not come to pass. Getting 7 million, and I'm sure woke up by our messages, they woke up by the things the president has done. I'm sure we shall have reached the term we have concluded. We shall be because we must appreciate that President Museveni implemented and the NRM government implemented our manifesto that we are concluding, which had in it the PDM, look at the Central. In the last election, we almost totally lost the Central. People of Uganda have realized that actually the entire Central was colored red to empower them and help them move forward. The people were convinced through the PDM, by what our been giving testimonies, how they have been able to use that 1 million to develop, to even employ others. Had convinced them, but I'm very glad that the people of Uganda have been able to all regions of Uganda appreciate that the heaven people promised them on earth don't even admire going to offices because they can now start their own joint businesses. The people woke up by our messages. They woke up by the things the people of Uganda, even the young people, has done in the last term, in the term we have concluded, because we must appreciate that President Museveni has implemented and the NRM government implemented our manifesto that we are concluding, which about 35 years. Everybody would say, the young people get confused. Because we have always believed that there are times when our young people can be swayed, which has helped. But to be honest with you, if you look at these elections, the story has been different. The government can do that much. Even the young people to empower them and have been them move forward to us. Because it is so. I want to thank everybody who has participated in this. Through the PDM, we have been giving testimonies as how they have been able to use that single person, but as a team, as a team of the NRM family. But the scaling program, especially His Excellency that the President has put in place, in all that we have done is because of him. He has been our chairman. He's actually our chairman of the party, much as he has been our candidate. Regions of he has Uganda. Been constantly guiding us on the strategies that we have employed. The President has been at the center. Actually, as a candidate and as a chairman of the party, he has been at the center, guiding us from time and again, and giving us very good guidance. Your Excellency, the President of Uganda, we are very proud. You have made us proud. Some of us, I think we are very grateful that we have done it. God has done it. We have not done it because of ourselves, but because of you, His Excellency the President. Your wisdom, your continued guidance, the love for this country you have, when the young people the commitment you have given to because we have always believed that this country and has led NRM win this election. I want to assure you on that. So we want to thank you, Papa. We want to thank you, Judge. But to be honest with you, such a good if you look at this election, the story has been the young people. Because even the young people and Mama have really mentored us. I want to assure you, the work we have done during this campaign is not going to leave us the same. So we shall never be the same. I'm sure we can do much more. And even the manifesto we have, everybody made Ugandans appreciate this. We need to help His Excellency the President to ensure that it is implemented. Because these are the promises we have given the people of Uganda. And once it is implemented, then but the people of Uganda will trust us even more. And I want to assure you, after these 5 years, for us as a party, this is the time I want to tell and to call upon my fellow Ugandans, especially the NRM fraternity, the NRM family. We have to start the next campaign now. Because if we do he's actually our chairman of the party and much as he has been our candidate, then next time it will be a walkover on the strategies that we have employed.
Honorable, I wanted to ask, there have been a few incidents. You hinted on the voter turnout not being that good. What do you suspect caused this voter turnout to be this low?
First and foremost, I want to use an example of my own polling station. You have made us proud. People have come in big numbers very early in the morning. In fact, I was even surprised that it came that we have not done it. But I realized that many people wanted to come early so that they can go back and do the other things. There are other things, or even wisdom. Sometimes people fear to continue in very long queues. The love for this country for a long time. The commitment you have given to this country has led this country, and people came early. People came very early at the polling. I want to assure you. But we had a challenge. So we want to thank you, Papa. We want to thank you, Jaja, for being such a good leader, a leader that has mentored us, unfortunately, because His Excellency and Mama have really mentored us. So because of that, I want to assure you, people, the work we have done, they were like, okay, let me go away, maybe I'll come back later. It's not going to leave us the same. We shall come back later. We shall never get the same. I'm sure we can do much more. If they get to know they haven't started yet, they stay on. And now, unfortunately, some of them didn't come back. Ugandans and so that alone, we need to help His Excellency, could have been one of the factors to ensure that reduced the number of voters. Because these are the promises.
Honorable, my last question to you is that out of the 26 districts of the Uganda region, you have split it into half, 13.
And I want to assure you,
but also, how do we galvanize this country, regardless of what color they chose, whatever they chose? You are going to have the social contract to be able to run this country. How do you bring this country together?
It is a responsibility of all of us. We have to start the next campaign, fellow Ugandans. It is a responsibility of all of us. If we love our country, if we do our work, need to work together as a team to bring the country together. First of all, as a party, I must appreciate that we had independence. And because of
Honorable, I wanted to ask,
divisions, conflicts here and there, and those conflicts generally affect.
In a few incidents, you hinted on the voter turnout not being that.
At the end of the day, we get challenges even in implementing and fulfilling our promises to the people. You, as an individual, as a member of parliament,
what do you suspect caused this voter turnout to be this low?
Trust you that you be the spokesperson of the people in parliament. But if these challenges are there, then sometimes you fail on your responsibility. Of my own polling station. I think the onus is on all of us to ensure that we urge people who have not made it to remember there is always a winner and a loser. Right now, if you have not won this time, it does not mean you have to antagonize Uganda. If you have not won this time round, it doesn't mean it's the end of the world or the end of Uganda. They can go back and do the country has to move on. There are other things. So just remember, it is God who chooses leaders. So believe in that and know that people fear maybe you'll get a chance another time. So can you come back and we work together and we unite our people together? Maybe they will appreciate you and they'll be able to give you votes another time. But this time round, there are specific people God has given the blessing. So let's allow them to work, and then maybe another time it will be our turn or your turn. So this is my call to the people of Uganda, more so those who have not been able to make it. But we have to unite the country together, because Uganda is today for all of us. Tomorrow it has to be for all of us. Because of the machines, we must also remember, and I want to urge our parents and the young people. The young people are saying out as we expected. So because of that, many of our people want to be the leaders of tomorrow. They were like, but how shall Uganda believe in you and trust you if you are the kind of people who are antagonizing the peace? Have they started? If they get to know they haven't started yet, and they stay on. And now you are the people who are coming out to throw stones at people's cars and alone could have been one of the factors that reduced the number of voters.
Honorable, my last question to you is that out of the 26 districts of the Uganda region, you have split it into half, 13.
During this campaign,
but also, how do we galvanize this country, regardless of what color they chose, whatever they chose? You are going to have the social contract to be able to run this country. How do you bring this country together?
It is a responsibility of all of us, my dear fellow Ugandans. It is a responsibility of all of us. If we love our country, we need to work together as a team to bring the country together. First of all, as a party, I must appreciate that we had independence. And because things, what do you expect? If you are the people who are throwing stones at security personnel, and a person who has a gun and want to throw stones at them, not only the party, but they affect even our followers. So at the end of the day, we election. It has been a peaceful and fair election. That is why we are all here. Challenges even in implementing and fulfilling our promises to the people. You as an individual, as a member of parliament, if you, for example, people have to trust you, maybe they wouldn't be here. they wouldn't be here. They would probably say, we shall not come, that you'll be the spokesperson of the people in Parliament. But if these challenges are there, then sometimes you fail on your responsibility. So I think it is the honest to thank His Excellency the President on all of us to ensure that we urge those who have not made it to remember there is always a winner in this country for these 5 years and a loser. Now, if you have not won this time, it does not mean you have to antagonize Uganda even for a better future. So that's if you have not won this time round, it doesn't mean it's the end of the world or the end of Uganda. No, the country has to move on. So just remember, I want to thank SEC. It is God who chooses leaders. So believe in that and know that maybe you'll get a chance another time. So can you come back and we'll work together and we unite our people together? Maybe they will appreciate you and they will be able to give you votes another time. To me, we have won Uganda. But this time round, there are specific people God has given the blessing. And so let's allow them to work. And then maybe another time it will be our turn or your turn to be beyond the 50% win in Uganda. So this is my call to the people of Uganda, more so those who have not. But for the future, it will all be painted yellow. By being able to make it. And remember, I want to be very proud because we divided ourselves for all of us. Members of the Secretariat. Tomorrow it has to be for all of us. And we must also remember, and I want to urge team leaders, our parents, Mama and Kazibwe was the people. The young people are saying sub-region want to be the leaders, and others were really heading as a sub-region. How shall Uganda believe in you and trust you? If you're the kind of people, Honorable Mike Sebalu was my assistant, but I want to tell you who are antagonizing the peace and the stability of this country. Because you are the people who have been able to bring 6 members of parliament, from 3 from Wakiso and 3 coming out to throw stones at people's cars and to say you are coming to demand for your votes greatly as compared to 2021. And they have spoken peacefully.
Amen. Thank you, Honorable Seninde. And she has given us a preamble of everything, the 4 strategies they use there to be able to look at the messaging, the candidate they have, and that
whatever
has been able to get them to where they are.
The campaign.
They're already celebrating, but also thanking God for where they are and grateful for what is happening to the National Resistance Movement.
Complying with the guidelines of Electoral Commission.
In exactly
if they
45 minutes from now, 55 minutes from now, and the Electoral Commission will be here to give us the final results, and then we'll be able to declare who will become president-elect after this. We thank you so much, and we hand you over to Broadcast House.
If you are the people
Thank you so much, Timothy Nyangweso, for giving us that update, and also Jordan Lukoma for having those interviews at the Electoral Commission Tally Center in Lubowa. And we want to news just in, news just in hot and just in here at UBC. The Electoral Commission is to announce the final results at 3 p.m. Away from the anticipated 5 p.m. It has been extended to 3 p.m., which is a good thing, Edward, for, of course, Ugandans and also for the EC. But that means less anxiety for Ugandans, but that means more work for us in the newsroom.
As newsrooms all over the country, we shall be getting to do more. But of course, thanks to Jordan and Nyangweso for those interviews. Of course, Laureen, the Deputy Speaker there, telling us that, the losers especially, they have to... I mean, what I see is if you lose honorably as a person, as a candidate, as a party, I don't see why you should lose and then you go on the streets and start lighting tires, attacking people.
I want to thank everybody
to cause unrest for no reason. Exactly. So he talked about of course, his party, the NRM, the people who lost, who were very unfortunate not to come back or even to come in for the first time. He talked about something that is actually, we noticed also, and that is division. He said there are divisions everywhere in the parties. There are divisions, not only in NRM. He gave an example of Soga, and you know what has been happening. NRM lost there some seats there because of the divisions there. Then also, he said even NUP and other political parties, they have got their divisions, and those divisions actually cost parties seats and so many other things. Then the other thing also that he talked about was,
we are going to be beyond the 50%.
party cohesion, for party cohesion to happen,
To us,
people
that is
must be united. You work together as a team, and I think this time round for NRM to have secured so many
for now, but for the future, it will all be painted yellow.
But also the presidential bit of it.
Remember,
when you look
I
at the
want
map,
to be
it's
very
all
proud.
yellow almost.
Yes.
Almost 90%
Absolutely.
is yellow. So I think that shows that the NRM
Because
this time round,
we divided
probably
ourselves,
the campaign strategy
members
compared
of the
to
secretariat,
2021.
and even
This time round,
incorporated other team leaders. For
it was
example,
really
Mama
on
Wandera
point.
Kaziwe
And
was the one
I would
heading
really like to
Busoga,
commend the
sub-region, and
Dr.
others were
Aseni, who has
really
just been
heading
talking,
others.
to the nation there. She really mobilized, as in mobilizing.
She did.
They also, this time round,
I was
they
personally
used,
heading
the
Kampala
internet,
and Wakiso
social
sub-region
media.
with
They
the
were
Honorable Mike Sabad was my
campaigning there, and
assistant.
that is a
But I
strategy
want
that
to tell you,
they never
I'm
utilized
very
in
proud.
2021, and
I'm a
also
very
that one
proud woman
was a plus to
because
them. And
I have been
that
able
is why you
to-
find that they really did a lot.
For sure.
to bring
also
6
maybe
members
some
of
things that I
parliament
picked from
3
Thomas
from
Tay,
Wakiso
where
and 3 from
he said,
Kampala.
unfortunately,
And
that is the life
President
of
Museveni has
in
also,
politics, there will
the
always
votes
be
have
winners
increased
and there will be losers.
greatly as
So it
compared
is,
to
it is,
2021.
and everybody goes
Praise
through the
be to
same
God.
furnace.
Amen. Thank you,
Even they were
Honorable
going through that. I
Seninde.
mean, when you
And
look
she
at
has
football,
given us a
exactly.
preamble.
Man U, someone
Everything,
will
the
have
4
to win.
strategies they use there to be
Exactly.
able to look
So
at the
it's
messaging, the candidate they have, and that has
universal.
been able to
It's
get
not
them to
only
where
in
they are.
politics, but also just like
They're
you
already
said in
celebrating
football, it
God,
also
thanking
happens.
God for
And
where
you'll
they are,
see the
and,
frustration
grateful for what
of
is
a
happening
supporter.
to the national
Said, I've
resistance
supported
movement.
this team.
The next
They even start
announcement will
saying,
be coming
I
in
thought
in
that the
exactly
coach
45
would do
minutes
this and this
from
and
now. 55
you know,
minutes
maybe
from
would have
now.
won this
And a
game.
good supporter
the
will
Electoral
not
Commission
start
will be here
attacking
to
the
give
other,
us the
the
final
others who
results.
have won.
Then we'll be able to
Exactly.
declare
So that
who
should also
become
be
president-elect
pushed on into
after
politics
this.
as well.
We
Do
thank you
not
so much,
attack,
and we hand you over to
the
Broadcast House.
one who has won.
Thank you so much, Timothy Nyangweso, for giving us that update. And
Just
also
like
Jordan
Honorable
Lukoma
for having those
let's
interviews
work together
at
the
because when you
Electoral
talked about
Commission
division,
Center
you see that someone
in
leaves the party and decides to stand as an
and we want to news just in, news just in hot and just in here
create
at
that
UBC.
division
The Electoral Commission is to
And also,
announce the
Lorraine,
final
sorry,
results.
you know,
at
what you've just
3
talked about, you
p.m.
come in as an independent,
away from the anticipated
but
5
you know,
p.m. it has
leaning
been
to your party,
extended
but
to
then
3 p.m.
you
It's a good
lose
thing,
again
but,
as an independent.
for the
So
frustration,
that's
of course,
it's a
Ugandans,
double loss.
and also for the EC. But that means
at the end of
less
it all,
anxiety for Ugandans,
go
but that
there,
means more work for us
you know, to
in
become
the
a member of
newsroom.
parliament.
Yes.
Not to serve your own interests
Indeed.
all over
But
the
to serve the
country,
interests
of which
of the
I'm
people.
getting to do
Exactly.
more.
The
But of
interests
course,
of the country.
thanks
That
to
is something that we should actually
to
let them not
Jordan
forget that
and,
actually.
Nyangweso for those
Exactly.
that
That
is
when you're campaigning, when you want to go
the deputy speaker there telling us that the major thing that you should look at is the losers, especially. They don't. They have to. And most. I'm sorry to say this.
What am I going to deliver?
I'm sorry to say this. Most of the people who are born there today, they are as a candidate. They just look at their own. They forget about the people who are there, and that is why some of these people have actually been kicked out. Tires, you know, attacking people.
But also, I want us to take a look at the presidential
to cause
race.
unrest for
You
no
talked
reason.
about
Exactly. So
how
he talked about like,
the chief
of course, his party, the NRM, the
chief
people
mobilizer,
who lost,
Honorable
who
Rosemary
were very
Seninde.
unfortunate not to come back or
This
even
time
to come in
around,
for the first time.
it's like they
He talked
repackaged
about something
themselves
that
and
is actually, we
went
noticed
head
also,
on,
and that is division.
campaigns,
He said there are divisions everywhere in
mobilization,
the party.
etc., etc.
Divisions, not only
Looking
in
back at
NRM.
the
He gave an
2021
example of Soga,
general
you know what has been
elections, if
happening.
you can
NRM
tell,
lost
first of all, it was just
some
1 year
seats
after
because of the
COVID-19.
divisions there. Then
And then
also,
here we are, we have
this
to
is
elect
an
a
NUP and
president.
other political
And,
parties. They have got their divisions.
Of course, there were some,
And,
the challenges,
those
there
divisions
came with
actually
these
cost
challenges.
parties
And,
seats and so many other
I feel
things.
at that point,
Then the other thing also
President
that he talked
Museveni,
about
didn't
was,
reach
you know,
as far as he did
party
this
cohesion,
time
party
around.
cohesion
And I
to
believe
happen.
that has
People must
contributed
be
to
united. You work
the numbers
together
that
as a
we're
team.
seeing
And I
on the
think
screen,
this time
how
round
he's
for
been
NRM
performing.
to have, secured
Yes.
so many
Oh, yes.
the members of the country, but also the presidential MP of it.
Yes.
You know, when you look at the map,
Yes.
it's all campaigning for themselves, yellow, but also campaigning
Yes.
for the
Almost
president.
90%.
Very, very
Good strategy.
which they never did. I think that should
Yes.
never used in 2021.
Yes.
That was on. And they also talked about campaign strategy compared to 2020.
Oh,
This
yes.
time around,
Yes.
it was really on point. And
Yes.
I would really like to commend
even some messages were coming to
Dr.
SMS.
Aseni, they were
Yes.
just been talking.
This is something that they never did the other day. And when
she
you
really
remember,
mobilized, as in mobilizing.
She did.
They also this time round They used the media.
Oh, yes, they did.
Social media. You know,
it
social
was a
media.
serious way.
They were campaigning there, and that is a strategy that they never utilized in 20.
What can we learn?
Not to do the other time, and that we should do this time round. And that is exactly what they did.
For sure. I also maybe some things that I picked from Thomas Teyewa. Absolutely. I also want to commend those, of course, who stretched out, in politics, so much, campaigning for the NRM's presidential candidate.
And everybody goes through the
We also want to say that in just a few minutes, we are going to be handing over to the next team.
Exactly.
Remember,
someone will have to win.
the final results for the presidential
it's universal. It's not only in politics, but also just like you said in football, it also happens. And you'll see the frustration
and of course, as
of a
the
supporter.
next team is
I've supported this team. They even start saying, I thought that the coach will do this and this, and maybe would have won this game.
And a good supporter will not start attacking the others who have won.
Exactly. So that should also be pushed on into politics as well. Do not attack the one who has
also
won.
Still, results are still coming in when it comes to the parliamentary.
Instead,
just like Honorable Seninde said, let's work together, because when you talked about division, you see that someone leaves the party and decides to stand as a television, and we continue to inspire you, create that. I have Loreen in the party,
and also Loreen, sorry,
and it goes together with the mic.
What you've just talked about, you come in as an independent, but leaning to your party, but then you lose again as an independent.
Imagine the frustration.
It's a double frustration.
Yes. That means voting still continues actually for the different other
to become
positions, which we will be getting into. But for now,
indeed, but to serve the interests of the people who have sent you,
exactly,
the interests of the country. That is something that we should have.
Let them not forget that actually.
Exactly. That is when you're campaigning, when you want to go to represent people in parliament. True. The major thing that you should look at is, why am I going to parliament? And I'm sorry to say this.
What am I going to deliver?
I'm sorry to say this. Most of the people who have gone there today, they are egoists. They just look at their own interest. They forget about the people who send them there. And that is why some of these people have actually been kicked out.
But also, I want us to take a look at the presidential race. You talked about how Honorable, the Chief Mobilizer, NRM Chief Mobilizer, Honorable Rosemary Seninde, this time around, it's like they repackaged themselves and went head-on. Campaigns, mobilization, etc., etc. Looking back at the 2021 general elections, if you can tell, first of all, it was just 1 year after COVID-19.
After COVID, yes.
And then here we are, we have to elect a president. And of course, there were the challenges that came with its challenges. And I feel at that point, President Yoweri Museveni didn't reach as far as he did this time around. And I believe that has contributed to the numbers that we're seeing on the screen. And also how he's been performing.
Yeah, the strategy.
Oh, yes.
The members, the aspirants,
yes,
been going door to door, but not only campaigning for themselves, but also campaining for the president. That was a very, very good strategy, which they never did.
Yes.
Never used in 2021.
Yes.
They also talked about social media.
Oh, yes.
This time around, the NRM, they were there. They were social media.
Yes.
Even some messages were coming to SMS.
Yes.
And this is something that they never did the other time. And when you remember, if you recall, 2021, NUP, they used the media.
Oh, yes, they did.
Social media.
It was a serious way.
People through that. So
yes.
I think the NRM just sat and said,
what can we learn?
We not to do the other time that we should do this time round. And that is exactly what they did. And I'm not surprised that this time round they really got so many people.
Absolutely. We also want to commend those of us who stretched out so much, campaigning for the NRM presidential candidate. We also want to say that in just a few minutes, we are going to be handing over to the next team. Remember, the final results for the presidential polls will be announced at 3 p.m. So we pretty much have about 45 minutes to go. And of course, as the next team is preparing themselves, Julie is getting ready to jump on set, of course, to give us more interviews with people that matter, and also influential voices results are still coming in when it comes to the parliamentary results. That is at Kololo, and we'll also be giving you updates on that as well. So keep it to UBC television, and as we continue to inspire you inside out. I am Loreen Masika Kazimoto, and it goes together with my colleague
Rukidi Edward Kijanangoma, but our work doesn't stop here.
Absolutely, it does continue.
Updates, even tomorrow shall be continued because the elections are not yet over.
Yes.
Yeah.
That means voting still continues actually for the different other positions, which we will be getting into. But for now, this is crucial.
Good afternoon.
So, good afternoon.
month's 8 candidates, and 3 p.m. is the final hour. That the EC has announced that it will eventually announce who the next president of Uganda will be 2026-2031. The countdown begins. You are watching UBC TV, UBC UG polls 2026. In case you haven't yet caught up with the statistics, as of the last provision, that was the 6th provisional result from the Electoral Commission. A total number of registered voters, 21,649,667 voters. Now, this number actually quite beats me and confuses me. I don't know if it does for you, because general statistics out there is 21,681,492. But Justice Simon Byabakama has been on and on making mention of the fact that the total number of registered voters has been 21,649,067 registered voters. The total number of polling stations as of the last provisional results was at 50,739 polling stations altogether, which definitely stays the same. But on the 6th provisional results, only 47,499 polling stations had been collected with the votes, leaving us with a balance of 3,240 polling stations. And those 3,240 polling stations will be added to the statistics at 3 p.m. Bulira Frank was standing at 44,328 votes, carrying 0.42% of valid votes. Robert Kasibante was standing at 32,224 votes, carrying 0.30%. Robert Chagulanyi was at 2,601,150 votes, carrying a 24.4%. Mabirizi at that time was at 22,274 votes, carrying a 0.21%. Candidate Muntu was at 57,019 votes, 0.54%, and candidate Munyagwa was at 30,509 votes. That is 0.29% of the valid votes. Candidate Nandala was at 202,802 votes. That is a 1.91%. And candidate Museveni, they are leading with a 7,643,778 votes, 71.88% of the valid votes. And the valid votes counted thus far were 10,634,084 votes, and invalid votes were at 264,015 votes, carrying 2.42%. Total votes altogether at the time, 10,898,099 votes. That is a 50.34%. And spoiled votes thereon were at 38,223 votes registered. At 3 p.m., we shall be finding out the total of votes carried from 50,739 polling stations across the country of Uganda. Indeed, the countdown does begin. And as the tension rises, as of course we do expect a number of petitions to take shape in the aftermath of this election cycle. But as UBC TV, we're definitely here to bring you all the stories that it will eventually announce who looking at yesterday's provisional results versus the last provisional results. Obviously, the numbers went high for each candidate. But as we did begin, you are watching the likes of Honorable Malende. UBC, who indeed was just recently, a few hours ago, was announced as, in case you haven't yet caught up with the statistics as of the last provision, that was the sixth provisional result from the Electoral Commission. A total number of registered voters for the win of 21,649,000, who indeed she believes voters being now cheated. This number actually quite but also she focuses on five political prisoners for you, because general statistics out there is 21,681,492 coming to you live. But Justice Simon Ababaka and has been on and therefore this conversation we're having the total number of the left, right, and center has been 21,649,000. To have this conversation with voters. Once again, you're welcome and thank you so much for choosing as of the last provisional results. An afternoon that is rather quiet on the streets of Kampala, as far as 50,739 but also polling stations altogether, which definitely stays the same. But on the sixth provisional results, only 47,499 polling stations had been collected. Is honorable with the votes, leaving us with a balance of 3,240 polling stations.
I just want to correct you a bit. When you are referring will be added to the statistics
at 3 p.m. Bulira Frank was standing at 44,328 votes, carrying 0.42% of valid votes. Robert Kasibante was standing at 32,224 votes, carrying 0.30%. Robert Chagulanyi right about that, 2,601,150 votes, carrying a 24.4%.
Now, regarding the situation,
at that time was at
there is a big question here. Who will be the next president? And I would like to answer
was at
that the next president
votes, 0.54%, and candidate Munyagwa was at 30,509
because all indications are clear that he's destined for
candidate Nandala was at 202,802
this is informed
votes.
by
That is a
the story of his journey
and candidate
to success.
Museveni there leading.
He started strong
with a
and he's going to end strong. He started well, progressed well, and he's going to conclude
of the
well.
valid vote.
Like
and
a long-distance runner,
thus far were
you plan your race, you plan the energy, you plan the endurance, the consistency, and the finishing power. The strategy of candidate Museveni is interesting. If you are to guarantee your victory in a long-distance race, start off well, gain momentum, and build good momentum to overtake your next, the possible challenger. The way we are now, President Museveni overlapped candidate Kyagulanyi 3 times. If he's at 2.6 and candidate Museveni is at 7.6, that is an overlap 3 times. There is no possibility, even fertile imagination, that he can catch up and overtake. That possibility is simply not there.
As per the previous provision and the last provisions, not previous, but rather looking at yesterday's provisional results versus the last provisional results, obviously the numbers went high for each candidate. But as we did hear from the likes of Honorable Malende, Shamim Malende, who indeed was just
and the explanation that we are not having more was the mishap of the biometric gadgets that caused that delay in the beginning of the electoral process. There are many people who had come up to cast their vote. Because of the delay, they went back and they never came back to exercise their right. There are those who are still home, who kept calling the polling stations, and since they didn't begin in time, they went off to do with their other business. So the voter turnout was largely affected by that mishap. And largely, quite a number of those were those that do belong to the NRM. So we expected more. Even where the little that came up, we still command majority.
But also, let's look at the observers' report. Everyone is either biting their fingertips. And I don't know if you caught up with some of the minutes highlights.
Yeah, I did.
What do you think of their observation? Is Honorable Mike Sevalu once again?
Yeah, they came up with some very objective recommendations. I just want to correct they also came up with observations that need to be clarified. Honorable Malende. For instance, they talked about inclusivity. And the inclusivity in their own view, they kind of restricted it to petition women presidential candidates. You said definitely the world over. No, I think that level of inclusivity, because it is according to the parties, but it is also according to the individual interested parties. We've had quite a number of regarding female candidates come up. There is a big question here. Who this time around, the fact that none came up, and I would like to answer it to anyone that the next president, you can't put it to government, President Museveni, offering yourself and President as a candidate will be the next president. So because there are no indications that are clear, took up that decision, it's not something that you can blame to the Electoral Commission and this is informed by, but the story can be seen in terms of parliamentary. He started strong, that in the constitution of Uganda, there are those started well, and there are those progressed well, there are those constituencies to conclude exclusive, like a long distance runner, the woman member of parliament. You plan your race, and we have them. You plan even the energy, and that is exclusive. So that answers the question, the consistency, of inclusivity, and the finishing power. Legal framework. It is provided for candidate Museveni reserved interest for women. So when you talk about inclusivity, Uganda is an inclusive in a long distance race, and affirmative action is guaranteed. Gain momentum. Women, they are provided for. When you look at the youth, they are provided for. When you look at workers, they are provided the way we are when you look at disabled, President Museveni overlap in terms of inclusivity. I've not seen if he's at any jurisdiction in the world. Candidate Museveni is inclusive as the Ugandan one. That is an overlap 3 times. Aspects there is no stakeholders are provided for. Even if fertile imagination, the Ugandan policy that he can catch up and overtake framework, that is like a mirror. Is simply not there. Our mirror is such that when you look in there, every image of stakeholder is there in this electoral process. You have the women there, you have the youth there, you have the disabled, you have the workers, you have the explanation that we are not having more. The elder was so tell me which aspect of the Ugandan politics is not reflected and that caused that delay provided for in our legal framework of the so the observers need to appreciate that. There are many people, if anything, they should be congratulating us and appreciating us because of the delay. They went back and never came back. Country where all sections of society, there are those who are still home and they are going to be reflected the polling stations, different levels since they did decision making. They went national level, even in the local government. So the same principles do apply. Turnout was so for me, affected I simply say we are the most inclusive and largely world over. Quite a number of those aware of any country that do place the inclusivity. So we expected the level. Even where and the little that came up that we do it, and all of that was as a result of the NRM government that is led by President Museveni, and that is part of the gains to be protected. So all of those candidates that offered themselves we are protecting the gains that we are shared by the NRM government, but they also came up with candidate Yoweri Museveni.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Mike Sevalu. Now, on your screen, indeed, as you've seen, Jethro at Lubowa, that is the National Talent Center. He is going to have a conversation with the Vice President of Uganda, that is Major Jessica Alupo. I cannot imagine what she feels like right now, but let's head straight to the National Talent Center.
According to the parties, but it is also according to the individual interested parties. We've had quite a number of female candidates come up.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for keeping it UBC.
This time around,
coming to you live
the fact that none came up,
Center,
you can't put it to anyone. You can't put it to the
NRM, chairperson Justice Simon
government
together
because
with the commission to come and give us
as
the
a candidate
and
is an individual decision.
Update or the
So
verdict
if there are no ladies that took up that decision, it's not something that you can blame to the electoral commission
but the
or
last
to the
that
party or to anyone.
Of course, we had gathered about 47,499 votes from the different polling stations out of the 50,739, meaning we had covered about 93.61%. But of course, we do have different dignitaries, we do have different observers, we do have different agents who are coming in to witness, but also to hear the exact information on how and when and who will be the president-elect. I do have the opportunity to talk to Her Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, Right Honorable Jessica Alupo. She will be telling us her opinion. What does she think? Her Excellency, thank you so much for sparing time. First things first, you went in unopposed as
when you look at
Women
workers,
Parliament
they are provided for.
Katakwi
When you look
district
at
again.
disabled,
How did you get to this? How did you make it? Once again, that the people decided that you go back to Parliament to represent
any
them.
jurisdiction in the world that is as inclusive as the Ugandan one, where different aspects of stakeholders are provided for. If anything, the Ugandan policy framework and constitutional framework is like a mirror. Our mirror is such that when you look in there, every image of stakeholder is there in this electoral process. You have the women there, you have the youth there, you have the disabled, you have the workers, you have the veterans, you even have the elderly. So tell me which aspect of the Ugandan polity is not reflected. And this is provided for in our legal framework. So the observers need to appreciate that. If anything, they should be congratulating us and appreciating us for being such an inclusive country where all sections of society are provided for, and they are going to be reflected in different levels of decision making at the national level, even in the local government. The same principles do apply. So for me, I simply say we are the most inclusive world over. I'm not aware of any country that was extremely placed the inclusivity card to the level, the scope, and the spread that we do it. And all that was as a result of the NRM government that is led by President Museveni, and that is part of the gains to be protected. So all those candidates that offered themselves, we are protecting the gains that we are shared by the NRM government under candidate Yoweri Museveni.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Mike Sebalu. Now, on your screen, indeed, as you've seen, Jethro at Lubowa, that is the National Tally Center. He is going to have a conversation with the Vice President of Uganda, that is Major Jessica Alupo. I cannot imagine what she feels like right now, but let's head straight to the National Tally Center.
The country. I also noted that there was a conducive environment across the country for all the presidential candidates to reach out to the electorate.
We are still coming to you live from the National Tally Center, where we do expect the EC chairperson, Justice Simon Ibakama, together with the Commission to come and give us the final and the last update or the verdict on who will be the President-elect, since all the results do come in to this very site. But the last that we did have, of course, we had gathered about 47,499 votes from the different polling stations out of the 50,739, meaning we had covered about 93.61%. But of course, we do have different dignitaries, we do have different observers, we do have different agents who are coming in to witness, but also to hear the exact information on how and when and who will be the President-elect. I do have the opportunity to talk to Her Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, Right Honorable Jessica Alupo. She will be telling us her opinion. What does she think? Her Excellency, thank you so much for sparing time. First things first, you went in unopposed as a woman member of Parliament to represent Katakwi district again. How did you get to this? How did you make it once again that the people decided that you go back to Parliament to represent them?
To freely mix with the people. Good afternoon, and I think we should also pay tribute to him for that.
Your Excellency, talking about very many politicians who went through unopposed, there are rumors that very many honorable members of Parliament actually buying out these people. What do you say about this?
Keen in participating and contributing to the process. Therefore, I would like to start by thanking all Ugandans who have participated in ably responded to the situation as candidates, as electorate, as where my opponents in different capacity. Voluntarily, for the case of Katakwi, to give away to state that unopposed. In a mutual way, in a way journey that was not on out of election coercion, in a way that was out of pressure. My thinking, what I would like to point out, that should have been that the elections for all the candidates during the NRM primaries. And from if the time it is not the case, got nominated, then I think it is also not my responsibility to delve into that and fair. I think it is the responsibility of the Electoral Commission. Atmosphere, the environment was extremely conducive and level for all candidates.
And any minute from now,
all the candidates who contested
giving out
against
their
me
final declaration.
What should Ugandans expect?
We have received different phone calls. There is fear that anything might happen when it comes to security, but you are on the top.
and gave way for me to become unopposed. From the results, I thank her. His Excellency President Museveni is leading insight in recognizing that that was the Ugandans are all watching a better option. The TV, they are listening to radios, and they are following. And I indeed thank her. It is important for all of us to prepare for the outcome in as far as the election, in whichever the presidential category we belong to, in as far as parties are concerned. I call upon all Ugandans first and foremost there was to recognize that in environment and in every election there is always a winner to reach out to the electorate that may not win. And I noted that does not mean the end of the Uganda. We need to recognize that even when we do not win, we remain aware and conscious, and we remain to offer service to our democratic right. And I have noted one of the strong after every 5 years undertakings that the president has made in the country is unite all of us. Earlier 6. So 7 o'clock, after the outcome of the results that are due to be announced, I call upon all Ugandans to remain united and rally behind the president who is going to be announced, so that he can be freely able to implement the programs for the betterment of all Ugandans. 5 years. I call upon the security forces also to exercise their right of securing all the people of Uganda under the law with 71%. And I want also to persuade all Ugandans to recognize even at this point and comprehend the role and responsibilities of the security teams who are deployed. I would like Ugandans to look at them as their own brothers and sisters and fatherly way there to play their role, to ensure that in a way that was enabling all leaders of different colors continue to freely mix with the people, as we have been doing. So, and I think we should also pay tribute to him for that.
Your Excellency, talking about very many politicians who went through unopposed, there are rumors that very many honorable members of parliament are actually buying out these people. For now, what do you say about this?
For that statement that you have just made, I ably responded to the situation for Katapi district, where my opponent voluntarily withdrew to give way for me to be unopposed in a mutual way, in a way that was not out of coercion, in a way that was out of pressure. My thinking is that that should have been the case for all the candidates that went unopposed. If it is not the case, then I think it is also not my responsibility to delve into that. I think it is the responsibility of the Electoral Commission.
My last question to you. Today and any minute from now, the EC will be giving out their final declaration. What should Ugandans expect? We have received different phone calls. There is fear that anything might happen when it comes to security, but you are on the top.
As I have said, from the results, His Excellency President Museveni is leading, and the Ugandans are all watching the TV, they are listening to radios, and they are following. It is important for all of us to prepare for the outcome of the elections, in whichever category we belong to, in as far as parties are concerned. I call upon all Ugandans first and foremost to recognize that in any and in every election there is always a winner.
One of the biggest gains that we are protecting is
and those that may not win.
Stability.
But that does not mean the end of the story.
And the attraction of majority
need to recognize that even when we we do not win.
Candidate Yoweri Kaguta Museveni represents peace,
remain Ugandans,
stability,
and we remain to offer service
security,
to our
represents progress,
people,
development,
and I have noted one of the strong
and security
undertakings that the president has made in the country is unite all of us. So after the outcome of the results that are due to be announced, I call upon all Ugandans to remain united and rally behind the president who is going to be announced so that he can be able to implement the programs
because of the security
for the betterment of all Ugandans. I call upon the security forces also to exercise their right of securing all the people of Uganda under the law. And I want also to persuade all Ugandans to recognize and comprehend the role and responsibilities of the security teams who are deployed. I would like Ugandans to look at them as their own brothers and sisters who are also there to play their role, to ensure that whether the election after election, we must remain Ugandans and continue conducting our businesses
to be taken
as we have
for
been
granted.
doing so before the
then
election.
we can find ourselves in a situation where government will be blamed, and the blame will always go to the president and his government, because the primary work of the president is to secure the country, secure the people and their property. So that's why we need to appreciate the role and mandate of the security forces in an exercise of this nature, where even those that don't wish us well from the external may want to take advantage of this and do something that can compromise the security of the country. So it is in our interest, it is done in our interest, it is done for us and in our interest.
To the polls 2026. My name is Julie matter of security. Moving in studio with me is one of the next government, and we're having conversations here and to take Uganda regarding this particular season that you have, what changes as Ugandans. And on that note, one of the in terms of mentions that the nation, when we start with security itself, is the perspective on ground seems to be a little different. She did talk about like security is against, as Ugandans we should not fear of Uganda. So what do you think members we should look at them as our brothers and sisters who are also playing their role? Do you really think that Ugandans are able to perceive men in uniform in such
by some leaders? You know, Julie, there are those leaders who on a light note that if they've not won, then they would rather let everything go to West coming to tell us that will the next president strategic leadership. I just put in a bit of a light moment. That is when it comes to confirm good leaders, for sure, we all know security is at the president. Security is good for the opposition, just like 8% for that is irreversible. So security is something that can be reversed. Like I did indicate earlier on, the president, those leaders that create an impression of to only do that and be able to gain Uganda is something that may never, even miracles of that nature can't happen now. Now regarding security, one of the biggest bad losers who said if we've lost it, let's create a situation that stability, a situation that reflection that is not good for everyone. Attraction of majority of Ugandans, like to candidate Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Candidate Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, this represents peace. Past election represents stability. The government has always taken security as paramount progress, and has development the entire and all those are mothered without discrimination and security. Because security for us is to protect cutting benefit, the peace and security. Once the country is secure, actors, anybody and the major stakeholders environment in terms of get the best major actors. So I want to believe that securing security will remain security top priority. We've been able to survive as a secure country for the last 40 years.
Looking at the high expectation and indeed the confirmation that you have as the fact that candidate Museveni indeed is going to be announced as the next president.
The statistics
that when we talk about to us by the Electoral Commission
and the security
on top of
during this
protecting
time,
the gains,
we need
what
to
changes
have confidence
do you suggest
in the
new
security apparatus.
As Uganda moves
And the
ahead?
beautiful thing is that I think security works on the basis of intelligence. They have information on the issue of transformation. So when you see them deployed in a transformation place through, they are doing so on the basis of information. Through maybe that is entire majority threat to the money they want to avert. The parish development model, we allow that security rolled out to be taken for granted, scaled up to the highest level, in a situation where government will be enhancing. And the blame will always go in terms of the president, in terms of his equity, making it more primary so that the beneficiaries is to secure benefit from secure so that the people and development property. So that's why we need to appreciate in terms of the role and mandate translate security forces in an exercise of this nature. And that is the focus where that should be given those that don't wish us well from the external, or may want to take given responsibility and do something to implement that can compromise to do it the security of their ability. So it is in our interest, a whole majority in our interest, of Ugandans is done benefiting and in our transforming themselves
particular
from
matter of
subsistence
security moving
to money
forward
economy
with the
and
next
benefit
government that is to take
from
on
the
that is to take Uganda on. What advice
also service
do you have? What
delivery
changes do you
should be
think
put
need
at
to be
its
made?
highest.
What should be
You
done
know,
better
universal
in terms of
primary
governing the
education,
nation? When we start with
universal
security
secondary
itself,
education,
the perspective
immunization,
on ground seems to
and
be a
all
little
programs
different.
that have
It
the
seems
effect
like
of
security is
improving
against
the welfare
the
of the
citizens
people
of Uganda. So what do you think the government
to the highest level? The perspective is by some, the team perspective the president is going to assemble. He should consider looking at those people that will increase effectiveness and efficiency of service delivery, but also of the West transformation agenda, so that people get out of poverty, so that people create wealth, so that people enjoy good high standard, because security is
now
good
on your
for all of
screen.
us.
You might be
Security
wondering what
good
is
for
being
the
displayed.
opposition,
It's
just
how
like
the
it is good
different districts are
those in
performing
government.
in
So
regards
is a
to domination
cross-cutting
of the parties,
benefit.
and you can see,
It is
as
a
you can
common
see,
good.
NUP
It is a
and
general good.
NRM are
So
really
those
into
leaders
the different
that
districts.
create
Some districts
an
like
impression
that on display
of,
is yellow, meaning that yellow has
Uganda is
dominated
not
that
secured,
particular
or the
district,
security is
and of
not
course that too
operating
as well
for good
is
intentions of
yellow. So
everyone.
it's informing
I see
you.
it
The chart is
seriously,
definitely
they are not being
just
good.
informing
They are being
you which
bad
districts are
losers
being dominated
who
by
say if we've
what party
lost it,
as you
let's
study
create
it
a
on
situation
there. Now, Honourable,
that,
speaking of
situation that,
for your information, by the way, we do have
that is
5
not
minutes
good for
to
everyone.
3 p.m.
But,
3 p.m. is the time that
just like
indeed, 5 minutes to the hour, the long-awaited hour by Ugandans. But as we wait for that hour is the hour that Justice Simon Byabakama will come through to give us the final result of who the next president of Uganda is for the next 5 years, and what the statistics look like on the screen of what Kampala looks like. The streets are very clear. We don't see any heavy police deployment on the streets. Just a few moving,
40 years.
as you can see on the screen, and looking at the high expectation and just quite calm and relaxed. It feels like a Sunday already on this Saturday. Now, Honourable, speaking of the people that the President is going to work with, let's look at the youth. Uganda is 75% youth populated, and many times youth feel left out in line with making policies, in line with being heard as to what befits this current generation. What do you think should be done in the next government regarding youth involvement.
Household income through the youth getting the entire majority into the money economy. The parish development model is something that has been rolled out. It should be scaled up to the highest level, widen the scope of beneficiaries, enhancing the efficiency levels in terms of access, in terms of equity, making it more effective so that the beneficiaries do benefit from stability. So that Uganda has development that we've been able to get in terms of the roads, in terms of infrastructure, is but I also want to encourage that household terms of assembly, and that is the focus that should be given high priority, give high attention. All those that are given responsibility team to implement that.
Very vibrant cabinet.
But the most important thing is to get so that we get a whole majority of Ugandans benefiting, looking there, transforming themselves elderly, from where the subsistence to money economy, so let it benefit a good mix. From the bottom line should be competence, also service delivery, and capacity at its highest.
Right, let's head over to the clock tower flyover where Arnold Mark Owaduro is. For him to just stick into what the environment is like. From the footage we've seen, it's calm, collected, as easy as a Sunday morning, but definitely we'll get the best story from his mouth. Over to you, Mark.
The team the president is going to assemble, he should consider looking at those people that will increase effectiveness and efficiency
district. To be specific, we're coming to you from downtown Kampala on Queens Way at the flyover road. Well, the ambience here is quite normal. The mood is quite somber. It's not anything that we've probably been hearing. In Kampala, we can see that transportation is going on. Of course, the traffic is relatively less than the usual, considering the fact that it's following a day that was considered a public holiday. Of course, the voting and the tallying day. And when you look around, the mood is really normal. You could think that this was just any other public holiday, but the borders are packed on the streets waiting for those clients that decided to come out today.
So it's
we're also seeing pedestrians, we're also seeing taxis. We're actually proximate to the old and new taxi park, and the taxis are coming in, going out as normal as they should. We don't see any signs of unrest. We are confident that the streets are actually safe.
5 minutes
to also talk about the security situation.
By Ugandans, but as we wait for that hour, that hour is the hour that
police vehicles
Justice
parked
Simon
on
Byabaka
the side, and they are supervising the security situation. We know that for sure they are also distributed amongst the various corners, the various aspects and hotspots within the CBD here. So we know for sure that security is actually really tight. Nothing is expected. We also don't see, of course, as we expect for the results to come in at about 3 to 4 p.m. by the Electoral Commission. Of course, the mood is expected to change. But considering the fact that security is tight, we might not see any unrest
this Saturday. Now, Honorable,
of course, we also have to bring to the fact that the results are already out.
Let's look at
not really fully, but partially. And the incumbent President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is in the lead by a mile, by miles and miles of votes. So there definitely have to be people that are happy by these results and people that are not happy. So I think we can only report to see what happens, but that's the report that I'm getting here in downtown Kampala.
All levels of decision making. Every single level. When you come
all right, thank you, Mark. Right now, let's take a look at what's happening at Lubowa. Everything is really set. It's already 3 p.m. and it's the awaited hour. So the countdown is off, and we're just waiting for the EC officials to see Justice Byabaka lead his team onto that high table where the results will officially be given. And
I also want to
know what has come out of the 50,739 polling stations that cut across in Uganda.
To see a youthful
and looking at what the last provisional results had, total number of polling stations 21,649,60.
where the elderly, where the women, where the disabled.
That is the total.
Let it be a good mix. But the bottom line should be competence, ability, and capacity to deliver.
Right. Let's head over to the this particular election cycle. So far, as for him to just the last provisional results like at about 2 p.m. rather 10 collected as a.m. 47,499 polling stations had been collected over to you their votes. And as per the presidential candidates, Bulira Frank came through with 44,328 votes, bringing him to 0.40%
you
of
from
the
downtown Kampala
votes.
on Queens
Robert
Way at the
was
flyover road. Well, the ambience here is quite normal. The mood is quite somber. It's not anything that we've probably been hearing. In Kampala, we can see that transportation is going on. Of course, the traffic is relatively less than the usual, considering the fact that is following a day that was considered a public holiday. Of course, the voting and the tallying day. And when you look around, the mood is really normal. You could think that this was just any other public holiday. But the borders are packed on the streets waiting for those clients that decided to come out today. We're also seeing pedestrians. We're also seeing taxis. We're actually proximate to the old and new taxi park.
Bringing him into a percentage
the taxis are coming in, going out as normal as they should. We don't see any signs of unrest. We are confident that the streets are actually safe. To also talk about the security situation, there are several cars, there are several police vehicles parked on the side, and they are supervising the security situation. We know that for sure they are also distributed amongst the various corners, the various aspects and hotspots within the CBD here. So we know for sure that security is actually really tight. Nothing is expected. We also don't see, of course, as we expect for the results to come in at about 3 to 4 p.m. by the Electoral Commission. Of course, the mood is expected to change, but considering the fact that security is tight, we might not see any unrest. Now, of course, we also have to bring to the fact that the results are already out. Not really fully, but partially. And the incumbent President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is in the lead by a mile, by miles and miles of votes. So there definitely have to be people that are happy by these results and people that are not happy. So
now, just a reminder
we
on
can only report to see what happens, but that's the report that I'm getting here in downtown
about
Kampala.
The whereabouts or welfare of Honorable Chagulanyi. He did say that number one for a fact as police,
Mark.
They know that Bobby Wine is not under any form of arrest. And he everything is really set. It's already 3 home. His home in Magere. But he also made mention of the fact that deployment around Magere and perhaps his home also is number one Magere is like any other hotspot onto that high table that where security detail took note of and decided to deploy police there. But also the fact that what has come out anyone who had 700 organized to disorganize the public, that was one way of cutting them off. That's why even around his home, looking at what the last provisional result of police deployment on total number of polling stations. He also said, if you do not believe what the police is saying, then there's no other way of proving it to you. Pardon me, just believe what the police is telling you. And of course, if you are for peace and are a candidate of peace, you should not be worried 700 move about in Kampala, even if it's police deployment for as long as you are for peace. No one will disturb you. On your cycle, we see the high table, the setup, where the last provisional results at about 2 with all the commissioners of the Electoral Commission, and it's where they'll have their last seat had their last seat at the high table of the Electoral Commission for the presidential general elections. As they give us a final result of the results from 28 votes, bringing him quickly because we are going there of the valid votes. Robert Kasibante was at 32,224 votes, bringing him to a percentage of 0.30%. Robert Kyagulanyi was at 2,601,150 votes, bringing him to a percentage of 24.46%. Indeed. Now let's head over to Lubowa, and right on the podium that is the spokesperson of the Electoral Commission. Julia was at 57,019 votes, bringing him to 0.54%. Munyagwa was at 30,509 votes, bringing him to 0.29%, and Nandala was at 202,802 votes, bringing him to a percentage of 1.91%. And candidate Museveni finally was leading with 7,643,778 votes, bringing him to a percentage of 71.8. On your screen, indeed, getting ready to see on your screen the graph there is showing you that indeed yellow, that is the Electoral Commission lead to give us the range is rather different. Yes, Honourable, constituency. And who leads it? Yes, please. Of course, as Honourable Mike Sebalu did share the excitement, that I mean by the statistics and what we've seen even on the graph itself, it's quite evident who is going to be announced. But it's also important that you know the numbers as they come in from 50,739 polling stations in the election cycle of the general elections 2026. So far, by the last provisions, only 47,499 polling stations as the polling stations whose results had been collected. But as we speak right now, we are left with a balance of 3,240 polling stations, and those 3,240 polling stations will be added onto the 47,499 polling stations. I can see the result of your work indeed is paying off. Now, just a reminder on what Afande Kituma, spokesperson giving us police said about the whereabouts of someone who has been around of Honourable Kyagulanyi. He did say that number one, the younger generation to learn. They know that Bobi Wine is not under any sin of arrest. And he said that in fact, Kyagulanyi is at history being written even in Magere. But he also made mention of the fact that deployment around Magere has it always his Honourable Mike Sebalu has always been as number one Magere now like any other hub right among those hotspots in that security detail took emotions decided to because there are those there, but also the fact that the results in case there's anyone the results who at the tally center are not organized to disorganize the public. But give us that was one way of like cutting them off. That's why even around his home in Uganda have election taken note of police deployment on there. And then he also said, if you do not believe what the police is saying, then there's no other way of proving it to you. Just believe what the police is telling you. And of course, if you are for peace and are a candidate of peace, you should not be worried as to move about in Kampala, even if you see police deployment, for as long as you are for peace. No one will disturb you. On your screen, we see the high table, the setup, where Justice Simon sits with all the commissioners of the Electoral Commission, and it's where they'll have their last seat, their last seat at the high table of the Electoral Commission for the 2026 general elections, as they give us final result of the results from the polling.
The results are something of interest.
Quickly, because we are going there.
Is the formal ceremony. The security of all and presidential candidates. Formal pronouncement of interest to the country. Right. So they all need to be secured. All of them. Otherwise, the winners, but everyone who appeared on the ballot, prepare themselves. Their security victory is of state interest.
Indeed.
And mutual respect.
Indeed. Now let's head over to Lubowa, and right on the podium is the spokesperson of the Electoral Commission, Julius Mchungu.
Even those that find themselves on the other side should also be able to take defeat with the dignity and honor.
Right.
So the results are not that close. It can only be an issue where maybe you're wondering whether someone is going to make the 50+1. Because in Uganda, it is simple majority, 50+1. And that declares you the winner.
Yes.
But it is not anything like that. The gap is so glaring. The winning is
on your
massive.
screen, indeed, getting ready
we
to
be able
receive members of the commission, that is the Electoral Commission, to give us the final result. About 13 minutes after 3 p.m. We are still waiting for Justice Simon. Of course, as the Honorable Mike Commissioners from the Electoral Commission, to take by the statistics and what we've seen, even on the graph table in that lounge right now, it's quite evident who that is at the National Going Center, which is the announced, but it's also important Electoral Commission, that you know. And as we wait, we are having this conversation and they come in from 50,739 polling stations in the election victory in honor, the general elections in honor. What would you advise those who have lost by the last elections provisions? Only 47,499 polling stations, the polling stations whose results had what would you advise? But as we speak right now, we are left with a balance of 3,240 polling stations, and those 3,240 polling stations will be added onto the 47,499 polling stations, and it will be a total of 50,739 polling stations. As you can see on your screen in studio with me is Honorable Mike Sebalu, who is giving us his insights, especially as someone who has been around, and it's quite an honor for the younger generation to learn from men and women of his stature who have seen Uganda have its history being written and its history being written even in the now in comparison of their time of service. Has it always, Honorable Mike Sebalu, has it always been as tensioning as now? I'm not so sure right now, perhaps seems a lot of mixed emotions, because there are those obviously who believe that the results, as you heard, the results at the tally center are not the same ground. But give us a feel of what it was like perhaps in the time